If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by one of my best friends. She is a real, I don't know, just a good person in general.
Oh, wow.
I know where I was going with that one.
She's a real pain in the ass. This is the last podcast she's going to be on.
You're one of the people that doesn't drive me up a fucking wall. Does that count? That counts for something?
I think that counts for a lot.
The host of not only the Scary Stories We Tell podcast, but also the One Season show, Jess Byard.
Hello.
And on this very special episode of the Kulturecast, we're not talking about movies, not specifically, but we're going to be rounding out the year that was 2020, and Jesus H. fucking Christ. This is a year that none of us, I think, are ever going to forget. And if you do forget it, how?
Just wow.
I mean, yeah, like if you forget this year, you have the shortest of short-term memory.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a multi-generational global event.
Yeah, like Jess and I were talking about this on our other podcast about like things that are going to be like turning points in our like lives as a generation. And for most of us, 9/11 was. For our generation, it kind of was. But I think, like you mentioned, for a lot of folks, this is going to be the moment that like changes everything for a very long time. Right. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a really good thing, especially if some good things come out of it, which, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like a lot of good is coming out of it yet. But, maybe the results are longer term than immediate. So, But we're not here to bum anybody out. We're not here to talk about the depressing shit because guess what? You hear about it enough as it is. We're not even going to talk about the things. Yeah. We're not even going to talk about the things we don't like. For once, we're not going to talk about things that were the worst of the year. I mean, again, like, what's the point? Like, don't avoid these things. Like, just assume that because we said we didn't like it, we never got around to it or whatever. So we're just going to be talking about the things that, like Marie Kondo says, brought us joy in 2020.
Yes. Things we did not want to throw in the trash.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jess, I'm curious. We're going to be talking about four things here. We're going to be talking about movies, games being either video games or board games, music, and then we'll round it out with some TV. So, Jess, right off the top of your head, one of the movies in 2020, and we'll just start a rolling conversation. One of the movies in 2020 that really just, I don't know, made it worth watching.
So I did my list on things that I discovered in 2020, not necessarily things that came out in 2020, because not a whole lot came out in 2020, obviously. But so I ended up with 5 picks, and thank God for Letterboxd, because it's the only way that I managed to be able to make this list, because I could just go back and be like, oh yeah, I did really like that.
I have my own like version of Letterboxd. It's called I go back and look at the podcasts I did through the year and see like what of those, and then augment that with like the things I have on the Plex server.
Right. Yeah, like things you watched.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, in no particular order, I'll just start at the top of my list here. This one actually was one that premiered at a film festival in, I think, 2019, 2018. 2018. And, it actually was at the Cleveland Film Festival the same year that we were for our short. And it is called Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's directed by Roman Cementi and Tyler Jensen. And it's a documentary about the second Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and that stars Mark Patton. And at the time was not received well, not looked
That's an understatement.
It was very.
You're trying to be very kind to the people who weren't kind to the movie.
Hey, I like the movie. I don't think that
great.
It's a bad movie.
Oh, I was talking more about the people who were so negative towards the movie. I think the movie is perfectly fine. It does break some issues, it has some canon breaking issues.
But regardless, the overall themes and tones of the movie, which you have, if you haven't seen, the movie was definitely chided for having like homoerotic undertones. And in the 80s, it was obviously not something that anybody was willing to admit was there, therefore kind of hurting the people who were kind of being, affected by this, namely the lead actor, Mark Patton, who is the star of, the subject of the documentary. And you're following him around because effectively this movie started and ended his career. Because Mark himself is a gay man, and he, in the film and in the way that it was shot and in context, was he ended up being the butt of most of the jokes. And as an actual gay man in the 80s, he was already struggling with a lot of that. And you get to see and hear all about the movie and the aftermath.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
And kind of what producers and writers and everybody and how everybody reacted and handled it. And there's a really powerful moment during it, and where he gets to kind of confront one of the lead, I believe it's the director, actually. He confronts the director who had basically vehemently denied that there was any gay undertones to it, and pretty much said that the only reason people thought that the movie was gay because Mark Patton couldn't play straight.
Good job, Jack Shoulder.
Right. Which caused Mark, it caused him huge issues as far as being able to work. And the fact that he never openly admitted anything. So they do have a moment in the movie, in the documentary, where they meet and talk about things, and I won't spoil anything, but I really like the documentary. I'm a big horror fan, obviously, but it was just a really, really, emotional story about how, this is something that, people would just kind of write off as just a B horror movie, actually ended up being something much more impactful to the lead actor and everybody involved in it. And ultimately the fan base, who has come out in support of it. In the more recent years, have sort of taken it back for them, but for, the community. But I would recommend that. I think it's on Shudder. I'm pretty sure it's on Shudder.
Is.
And I think it might also be on Amazon. I'm not sure.
I mean, it's one of the things this year that I didn't get around to watching, but I've wanted to, because I think we've talked about this before. I really like Never Sleep Again, and they in that documentary they still are fucking towing that line.
Yeah,
and they still are like refusing to admit it, and it's like, look, if the director refuses, that's one thing, but like the script writer, dude, like,
right.
Come on, man. Even with the straight actor in that role. Yeah, I mean, even with the straight actor in that role, that's still a very, very coded character.
Right, absolutely.
Like, even if Mark Patton wasn't gay, which he is, that is still a coded gay character.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have.
Period.
Yeah.
So for me, like Jess said, this isn't stuff that came out in 2020, because if it were things that came out in 2020, well, it would be one thing, which is Freaky, and that's the only thing we watched this year that came out this year, at least in a theatrical sense. We've obviously watched a lot of other stuff that was 2020. Because, things do still come out on streaming services. Chris Nolan and Denis Villeneuve. Go fuck yourselves. One of the things that I really liked this year was getting to watch all the Indian cinema this year was really eye-opening for me, because while I had seen some things, getting to really dive into it head first was awesome. DDLJ, I think, is the film, like, of me, DDLJ is like one of the biggest things for me this year, like one of the biggest discoveries, as if I'm discovering the most popular Indian cinema film of all time. But it's been playing longer than any movie in existence. Like, what the fuck, dude? You're just now finding this out?
Wow.
But yeah, DDLJ, absolutely, again, similarly to you, in no specific order, one of the best things I watched all year. And you were there for it.
Oh yeah,
so
I would agree. I was happy. Yeah. I was very happy to jump into Bollywood this year on Kulturecast. And I mean, the two that I watched, DDLJ and Robot.
Yeah.
I love both
Robot's
of them.
some wild shit.
We talked about it a ton on the podcast, but for movies that are like 3.5+ hours long, it does not feel like it at all. They were so super fun.
Yep. And that's, I mean, again, if you've never had a chance to watch any Bollywood or Indian cinema films, DDLJ is a great place to start. It is still on Amazon Prime. So if that is a thing that you have, which so many of us do have, I would definitely, it's definitely worth, especially this year, it's definitely worth checking. It's definitely worth checking out. So what's another thing off of your list, Jess?
This one's real, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this because it's super basic, but I gotta say I loved Parasite. It's a 2020 movie, or 2019 season 2020 movie, and I think that it definitely lived up to the hype. I read the script after it came out. I don't know, there's just something about that movie that's just so perfectly written, and just the momentum throughout it is fantastic. I ended up buying the graphic novel that Bong Joon-ho made out of his storyboards for the movie. And I've watched it a couple times since then, and I think it still holds up.
It's a great movie. It is one of the few times I have ever said this movie not only deserved to win the Oscar, it deserved probably more than that.
Yeah.
Because it's an amazing film. Not surprising given who directed it.
Right.
That's a I wouldn't say that's a gimme pick. That's a really good pick. That is a amazing film. It didn't make my list because, to be fair, I watched it in 2019. So
wow,
yeah, there is that. Yeah, to be fair, yeah. I just kind of said it like if I watched it in 2020, that's even fair. Regardless of when it came out. For me, another movie that I watched that I really like was The Lord of the Rings. I got really into Lord of the Rings this year, and I know that was in the last month and a half, but I really enjoyed watching Lord of the Rings, and I really kind of enjoyed getting more into the Lord of the Rings universe. I've been rereading the
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
Books for the first time as an adult, so it's been really good. I've been really enjoying getting into Lord of the Rings, rewatching the films. You know, obviously you and I and Mike talked about it a couple weeks back, but Lord of the Rings trilogy, if you've been sleeping on that, if that's not something you think is your thing up until now, I would definitely check it out because it's really good. And it's a good rabbit hole to fall down because there's a lot of things you can read.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's like Dune or it's like Dune a lot, like
universe.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of you can fall down a lot of rabbit holes and do a lot of digging. So, what about you, Jess? What's another thing off of your list?
I have 3 more. So the next one is actually another documentary, and it was one that I heard about on a podcast. I can't remember which. Might have been We Hate Movies, but it's a documentary called Los Angeles Plays Itself, and it's directed by Tom Anderson. And it's basically just a documentary about Hollywood portrayed in movies, like Los Angeles, the place portrayed in movies, just throughout the year, through the life of Hollywood. And I mean, I'm a sucker for anything classic Hollywood. I'm a sucker for anything movie history, cinema history. I love documentaries about film because half the reason I watch them is because half of them are clip shows, and I love just seeing all the different highlights from movies that I eventually want to check out. This documentary also has a real, like, just nice kind of jazzy score that you associate. Kind of like, like if you ever watched like the Turner Classic Movies where they have those little animated like snippets or musical snippets in between things, and it's just like the jazzy music. It's that kind of stuff, and it's just, I don't know, it's a good movie to have on in the background because it's not really something that you don't have to pay a lot of attention to, but it also just, it soothes me.
Well, and in a year where soothing is what is needed, it's been a year where we could use. I mean, that's the thing. Like, a lot of the things I watched this year, I watched a lot of the same things over and over again because there is something comforting about that. And I think I'm not the only person. I can only imagine how many times in the last 9 months people have rewatched The Office or Grey's Anatomy or any of their favorite TV shows, because again, there's something comforting about it. And there's something comforting about having something recognizable on in the background as background noise. That's not the news, which is still a drain on all of us. So one of the things off of my list is one that I can thank you for introducing me to. Actually, I give you all of the credit outside of the fact that you didn't make the movie, The Devils.
All right.
Yes. The rabbit hole of Oliver Reed went very deep and very full of alcohol.
Very nice. Yeah, that was a good month. I was looking back for those.
I actually read the Oliver Reed not autobiography. I read the Oliver Reed biography.
I was say there was an autobiography.
Yeah, there's no autobiography, but I will tell you. Do you want to guess how long the Oliver Reed biography is? If you listen to it,
I'm gonna say 12 hours.
18.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a beast. If you have an Audible account, Audible doesn't sponsor this podcast, but it should because I listen to like 2 audiobooks a month. So where's that money? You don't even have to pay me. I think everyone should be reading all the time because if you're reading, that means you're engaging your brain in ways that TV doesn't. But yeah, definitely The Devils is amazing. You should check out The Devils. You should check out the book about The Devils. I know that friend of the podcast, Richard Haddam, he read the book after we watched the movie. I read the other book, the Oliver Reed biography, after we watched it. It's amazing. Patreon supporter Andrew actually listened to the audiobook as well. So there's two people who listened to an 18-hour audiobook because of The Devils. Oliver Reed's amazing. I don't even have to say that. Shit, Oliver Reed's amazing. But The Devils is one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like, a hard stop. Like, I can't say any more than that if you haven't seen it. And to say any more would be spoiling how good the movie is. Because it's amazing.
And Russell. Just watch all the movies we watched for that month. I stand by all of them still.
Except for horror.
Yeah, I don't know. I still stand.
I get it. It's
for an experience.
Of the ones we watched that month, The Devils is the best. It was also the one we led with. So that was
also the one that's the hardest to find. So sorry, listeners.
Yes.
For some reason, Criterion did have it for like a split second, and then it's like tied up in some crazy rights shit, and it's still
Warner Brothers doesn't want to release it in the United States,
right? Because it's a bunch of satanic nuns.
Well, it's more of an issue of Warner Brothers doesn't want to release it in the United States in the version that we deserve.
Right? They would like hack it to pieces.
Yeah, exactly. We deserve the uncut version, just like everyone in the UK does who have the uncut version of the film at their disposal.
But hey, this is just like the flip side when like people in the UK in the 70s and 80s had to buy like movies from the US because they couldn't get horror movies there. We just got to buy it from the UK.
Video nasties. Yeah. But definitely I give all of the credit for that one to you because you were the one who did Ken Russell Month, and Ken Russell Month was that's the thing. It was a success. The only month that I would say wasn't a success, and it's not the person's fault who booked it, it's just a fault of shitty timing. Mike White March this year was the hardest Mike White March to ever
that was the dystopian science fiction, right?
While we're living in the movie.
While we're living in a dystopian science fiction. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you remember back to March we did Mike White March, and yeah, exactly. Obi Oba, Dead Man's Letters, movies about dystopian sci-fi futures while
Russian
we're effectively
ones.
we're facing that. It felt like at the time, I mean, obviously it's not so much like that anymore, thankfully, but it still feels like it to some extent. So Mike White March this year was less as fun as I would have hoped because of no fault of Mike's, obviously, but Jess Byard June definitely knocked it out of the park. Some really fun movies, especially Devils. So what's next on your list? We must be nearing the end of your list.
Yes, we have. I'm just going to lump these two in together just because. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to keep them separate because I'm going to put an addition onto this next one since it's not an actual movie. It is What Did Jack Do? And it is directed by David Lynch. And it was one of his shorts on his new channel that he launched this year, which I will also just say that I loved his weather reports, his numbers of the day, everything that he's been doing, pretty much just daily video posts for this entire year. But his short,
Injected into my veins.
Yeah. But his short, What Did Jack Do? And if you don't like David Lynch, hardcore pass on this because it's super Lynch. It's him interrogating a monkey about cheating on somebody's wife.
Like, it's as Lynchian as humanly possible.
Yeah, if you don't like him, don't watch it. But if you do and you haven't seen What Did Jack Do, you need to check it out. It's hysterical if you're into the Lynch humor. But yeah, if you also haven't just checked out his YouTube channel, he did. It's strange that it took this long for him to finally have one, but there's a ton of his old shorts on there that he's put on, new stuff that he's put up. I mean, he does all these random, like, what's Dave working on today? And it's always some weird, goofy thing that he's making in his shop. I'm also pretty certain he hasn't had a haircut the entire quarantine because he's got, like, almost, like, a mullet going on at this point. Yep. But yeah, What Did Jack Do?
You know what I realized we didn't do? We haven't set aside a spot to talk about YouTube. And yeah. I don't know about you, but that feels kind of unfair because
I watch a lot of YouTube.
Me too. And this is a recent thing.
Yeah, I would say within the last year or so is when I've started watching more YouTube, for sure.
Yeah, I have too. So, well, actually, when we're done with the movies, let's just, I mean, I guess I don't know, I'm trying to think if I have anything else.
I mean, I have, for what?
For movies.
Oh, for movies.
What was your last one?
My last one is Richard Stanley's Color Out of Space. Because it was great to see Richard Stanley back. He hasn't done a movie in a long time. I mean, his horrible experience with the island of Dr. Moreau kind of killed his career for a real long time.
The about of that movie is way more fun than the actual movie.
Oh, God, yeah. Watch the making of. It's fantastic.
What is it? What's the name of it called? Isle of,
I can't remember, but it's
Isle of Lost Souls.
It's based on the island of Dr. Moreau, the story. But yes, it's Isle of something like that. But Color Out of Space, it was Richard Stanley coming back. I love that Nick Cage has become a kind of regular in the indie horror world, particularly in the kind of like splatterpunk surrealist horror world, like this and Mandy came out a couple of years ago. And
I think Color Out of Space is better than Mandy, though.
I would agree. that Color Out of Space is better than Mandy. I think that Mandy is very much of a visual ride, and I don't think that it has a whole lot of rewatchability as far as like story stuff goes.
Mandy's like almost like a meme in film form. Like it's like a memeable movie. Like, I mean, like, look, I know people, as do you, that love the shit out of that movie, and like, it's not that I don't get it. I just don't feel like it's earned.
No,
like. I don't feel like those accolades and love are earned by that movie because like neon colors and Nick Cage acting weird can only take you so far.
Right.
Most of the time.
Right. But Color Out of Space, I thought, was a really good, modern telling of the H.P. Lovecraft story. And there's some fucking sweet practical effects and some really gnarly shit that happens in that movie. And yeah, it's nice to see because, I mean, we haven't really seen too many movies. I mean, we have Lovecraft Country now, TV-wise, and that has sort of brought Lovecraft, aside from Cthulhu stuff, but has brought Lovecraft back more into the TV world. But we don't really have too many movies recently covering his stories. Like the ones that I think of, came out in the 80s and the 90s, and they're all Stuart Gordon joints, Reanimator and Castle Freak and all of this stuff. But it was just cool. Plus the color scheme in that movie is amazing if you like things like that.
There was another Lovecraft movie that came out this year, though.
Oh yeah, the underwater movie, right?
Yeah, which is underwater.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's underwater
Kristen
movie.
Stewart in her underwear underwater. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
And this movie's not on my list, but I will say that I did watch Happiest Season. I don't know if you did.
I did not.
But I felt that it was my gay obligation to watch Happiest Season, which is the new Hulu Christmas movie with Kristen Stewart and Dan Levy. And it was cute. It was actually, you know what, I don't really go in for rom-coms or Christmas movies, but I thought that this one was at least, it was, and a lot, I kept seeing things that, articles and tweets and stuff from people saying that it was a lot sadder than they anticipated it being. And I'm like, no, this is just more realistic than what your general Christmas rom-com is like. It's not too like
bugs crashing your pack's party. Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to Fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's Fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
It's a real problem that a lot of people in the LGBTQ community face, and it was nice to see it. Plus cute ladies.
As someone who came out to their parents this year and was met with less than overwhelming happiness about it, it is a real thing, and it does really suck, and it is a thing that a lot of people struggle with. So sorry it wasn't a happy story. All of you people that were expecting.
It has a happy ending, though. It just
sure, I know, but like
it's because it's too real. It's like, oh, I don't want to have to think about that. Give me my, dumb Christmas miracle. Give me my Christmas shoes. I want dead moms, not hard family conflict.
Give me Love Actually instead, a movie that has not aged well at all. Oh boy. I like Kristen Stewart. It's one of those movies that I need to watch because I've heard nothing but good things. But yeah, expecting people who are making a movie about a gay relationship and coming out to your family to not tackle it in a way that tries to represent it as realistically as possible, you're missing the point if that's what you're expecting.
Right.
Completely. I will say I finally got around to watching Monster Squad this year.
For the first time?
For the first time, yeah.
Wow.
Like a couple weeks ago, for the first time I ever watched Monster Squad, and it was fun. Doesn't change my opinion one bit on Tom Noonan, but at this point, nothing will. And that's not my fault. So, it was fun. It was a fun movie. Yeah, it was kind of what I was expecting.
The movie in where the whole premise is that this teenage girl a virgin? Oh, crap, she's not.
Yeah. It's a little. It hasn't aged well. So
well, it's the 80s. A lot of things haven't aged well from the 80s.
Well, I mean, look, as a kid who was fat and as an adult who is still fat, the character's name being Fat Kid through the entire movie, being called that by your
his
friends.
His name is Horace.
Yeah, I know, but your friends calling you Fat Kid, like those people aren't your friends.
No,
I hate to break it to you, but like your friends wouldn't call you Fat Kid on their own.
Maybe in the 80s they would. The 80s were a harsh time.
Apparently.
Monster Squad is one of my husband's favorite movies. I got his likeness drawn up in the Rudy character fashion with the monsters behind him for his birthday a few years ago.
And it's a popular movie for a lot of folks that.
Oh yeah, I mean I like it. It's
older
fine.
Than me and you, right? It's for people that are a couple years older than us, right?
Yeah, I mean Jason's 37, 38, something like that.
Yeah, and my friend Trevor, who really likes it, is
people who are actually like alive and cognizant in the 80s.
Yeah, like if you were like 8 or 9 in the 80s, this was your jam.
This is your jam. Yeah. If you were 8 or 9 and a boy. Probably.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about YouTube, because this is something that like we've never really talked about on the podcast. We've talked about it off podcast a lot because we trade suggestions on things. But how do you feel about YouTube? Because you mentioned that you started like watching YouTube recently. But, like for me, it was always like a blind spot.
Yeah. Well, so YouTube and I've been using YouTube So in 2006, 2007, when I was in high school, 16, 17, I watched a lot of stuff on YouTube. Stuff that started moving over from other websites, from like eBaum's World and Channel Awesome and stuff like that started getting put over on YouTube. And I used to watch just like a lot of, unfortunately, some of those things that I used to watch, the people doing them also didn't age well. But it was something that I used and watched through high school, mostly just watching stuff about, movies. I mean, just old movies, horror movies, basically the same stuff I watch now, I suppose. And then I kind of got out of it for a while, like for a long while I was in college. And then I got back into it because I started a channel where I was reviewing movies. This was when I was writing for other sites. And I'm so mad. I mean, not that it would bring me any pleasure to revisit any of those old videos, but I am really mad that I didn't just keep doing it because I was in it like early enough. And I did have a small, not like, a huge following by any means, but like a couple, like 100 or so followers. And I feel like if I had just stuck with it and like just kept doing it for these last 10 years, like I would probably be monetized by now just because like just out of like sheer like amount of content that I created.
As they say, sheer force of will.
Right. Yeah.
Just sheer force of will.
No, I mean, 2006, 2007 would have been like the best, like the one. I mean, now is a good time to get into it. Well, I guess a couple years ago, not now, but a couple years ago, and then like right at the beginning of it. But I think that I have no ill feelings towards YouTube, aside from their, general shit that they do to creatives, like all of their monetization requirements and blah, 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 blah. But YouTube as a platform and as a place for people to come and produce content for effectively that they're giving people for free. And honestly, some of the stuff that I watch on YouTube has way more thought and time and, production value put into it than, some of the quick little, 20-minute Netflix shows that I watch and shit like that.
I was about to say, as someone who watches a lot of cooking shows, they put anything on Food Network to shame. And then some. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, there's that. For me, it's always been movies, music, TV. That's what I watch. A lot of the stuff that I watch now, too, is in regard to filmmaking and all of that. But one thing that I watched the first part of it at the beginning of this year, and they just released the second part of it like a week ago. And it's from this channel called Indigo Gaming. And it's it's a 2-part series. I think there's a third part coming out, and it's called The Rise of Cyberpunk. And it's just an examination of cyberpunk from, the start of it, from movies, games, the different cultural waves between American and Japanese. And it's amazing. I mean, the amount of research, the amount of time that they're putting just the video itself together is great. And also, let's not forget, this second part of this is an hour and a half long. The first part of it is 50 minutes long. These people are doing stuff that takes months to create. Indigo Gaming is a verified channel. It's got a lot of subscribers, but still, they're not making a ton of money. People on YouTube aren't making a ton of money unless they are a household name. And that's the same with anybody in an industry. You're not one of the people making a whole bunch of money unless people actually know who you are. Yeah, 99% of the content makers are not making the money the 1% is.
I would say that 99% of content makers on YouTube are not making money at all.
Well, yeah, and then you have someone like our friend Father Malone who couldn't even get monetized initially because they told him what he was making for his channel wasn't enough.
Right.
And that's a fucking
because there's the whole world of creating content creation and the internet is like a wild west because it's incredibly unregulated and anybody can do whatever they want. And, websites, companies can run things however they want. YouTube maybe has they have more risk, because it is the website of viewing videos and it has been for over a decade now. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Longer than that, I think even, right? It was like 2008 maybe.
But, I mean, there's just so much. If you want to go and see people really pour their heart and soul out into the things that they love, it's on YouTube.
For things they really love.
Right.
Because, like, some of the people that I watch, so, again, like Jess just mentioned, I watch gaming channels. I watch board gaming channels like the Dice Tower. Those dudes are great. They've made a living out of making board game reviews. I've never run across Indigo Gaming, which is unfortunate because now I know I am going to be spending the rest of my evening watching. I mean, look, I love long form documentaries on YouTube. One of the guys that I watch, his name is Mahler, and he is a pop culture kind of analyst, and he watches stuff, and he gets really pissed when people don't understand the difference between objectivity and subjectivity.
Right.
But his so to give you an idea, because you're talking about this Indigo Gaming channel, he did a series on I believe it's The Force Awakens. But so he has a series on The Force Awakens. And so this series, he hasn't finished it yet, but I think it's supposed to be 7 parts. The first 3 parts, their time is as follows. The first part, 2 hours and 42 minutes. The second part, 2 hours and 19 minutes. The third part, 3 hours and 52 minutes long. And this
so it's
is
almost 9 hours, basically, 9 to 10 hours.
And he's not even done, and it's him just breaking down how Force Awakens is objectively, not in his opinion, how it's objectively not a good film.
Right.
And he also has, for those of you that don't like The Last Jedi, which I'm sure there are a bunch of you, not saying I don't like it, but I don't get as heated about it as some people do. He has a whole 3-part series. Each video is almost 2 hours long about Last Jedi. He's one of those people that makes a lot of content. And like you said, they're putting together these long-form documentaries, and that doesn't take 5 minutes.
No, that might take 5 months. Depending on what else you do, because if we're talking about these people who, even if you're getting a few thousand followers or so, this isn't your job. Like, you're not making YouTube money to where you're not having to work. Like, that's not a thing. Most of these people have other jobs and other things. Plus, not to mention their own, like, personal obligations, relationships, hobbies in their lives. But
sure.
And 90% of the time, they're creating it for just free, and it's good content.
Oh, yeah. It's, another kind of set of channels that I watch. I was talking a little bit about cooking channels. Maddie, I know, obviously we've never talked about it on this channel, but there was a huge thing that happened over the summer with Bon Appetit turning out to be as garbagey a company run by a garbagey company as possible. Essentially, they were having by POC people who worked for Bon Appetit showing up in videos only to essentially say that they had diversity on camera, but they weren't actually paying these people, be it women or female, chefs or content creators for the channel. They weren't allowing them to get paid the same. It was real shady shit.
Right.
So Bon Appetit being gone has opened up a space for a lot of other channels to exist. The channel that I watch for cooking is Matty Matheson, and that's because he's pretty much the equivalent of me when it comes to cooking. And I'm not just saying that, but he's great. But yeah, I for all the cooking that I watch, mostly what I watch on YouTube is like theme park history, which is again like really weird niche stuff.
Yeah.
And it feels like only on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I watch a lot of true crime stuff. One of the channels that I like for that is this Irish man. The channel name is That Chapter.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wonderside comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
And he releases videos like crazy. Because that's the other thing. Like, it's not only the, length of content people are releasing, it's also the quantity, like the amount of how often someone is posting something. So this guy does, his videos are anywhere from like 25 to 35 minutes, investigating, just talking about some kind of true crime case that you probably haven't heard of. And he goes through all of this stuff where he ends up getting a lot of like the interrogation, tapes, footage and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's also, he's having to wait on getting this content to be able to put in his videos, and he releases probably 1 to 2 videos a week. It's
That's
insane.
Impressive.
And I mean, he's got like 870,000 subscribers, so he's not, making bank on this.
I don't want to deride the people that make shitty content, but like they make it harder for people like that to make content.
Well, yeah, because
They
get on the bus of like, oh, all these kids want to watch slime videos. Okay, then here's 700 channels. They manipulate the algorithm.
Yeah, and the algorithm manipulation is like, that's how 5-minute crafts and all those assholes keep kicking everyone out of the game and saying like, this is our game in it, and it's only ours. So yeah, it's a bummer, because
short content is what's going to get on top, because attention span.
Exactly.
Unless you're really interested in the topic. But they're operating on the fact that we're just going to say that kids are going to get on YouTube and they're going to be on here for a few minutes and they're just going to click on whatever.
And then the stuff that kids watch is just the weirdest amount of
there's
shit.
That whole other side of YouTube too, where it's very people exploiting their children and all that. But that's not what we're talking about.
Spider-Man, mommy, daddy, go to the zoo, watch animals. Those videos are disturbing. But yeah, I just want to mention some more YouTube channels because I don't want to get stuck on YouTube too long. But some YouTube channels that I watch: Shut Up and Sit Down, Defunct Land, Theme Park History. Like, YouTube for me is the MVP of the year. Because I know if I get on YouTube...
Well, it's also like, how do I do this? Look it up on YouTube.
That too. Like,
it's a very useful tool.
Yeah. I've actually fixed my car and Kate's car from YouTube.
Right, yeah.
Like, that's real.
I would say probably some highlighted channels for me. Definitely that chapter. There's this one called Super Eye Patch Wolf, and he does some interesting breakdowns kind of focusing on anime and manga. Accented Cinema is another one, focuses a lot on like a Japanese film. Lessons from the Screenplay is great. I watch a lot of like filmmaking stuff, film breakdown, and I'm also like I'm a huge productivity nerd. I love watching videos about like productivity apps and note-taking systems and all of that. But Lessons from the Screenplay is a really fun one that just like it picks a movie and picks a specific part of that script to break down and goes through it really nicely. And then I do have some like like YouTube commentators that I like. I like Danny Gonzalez and Drew Gooden, Gus Johnson. They're all very popular, but they're all also
Chris
really
Stuckman,
hilarious,
bro.
Yeah, well,
he's your pal. He lives in the same town as you, right?
Sure does.
Sure does. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of content out there, and I really love it because if you're bored, how?
Right.
There's so much content. Like, you could learn things, you could entertain yourself, you could, have your brain kind of maybe, challenged a little bit, your belief system challenged. You can listen to audiobooks in their entirety on YouTube as well.
Yep.
You can listen to whole concerts. The Tiny Desk concerts, if you've never listened to those on NPR, are amazing. There's a lot of stuff. So if people can't find things to watch, maybe you're just not looking hard enough.
Maybe you just really want to watch reruns. That's what's happening.
as Kawato would say, open your mind, Quay. By the way, Channel Awesome, talk about a channel that yikes, big yikes. Channel Awesome was a nostalgia critic, right?
Yep. And that was like, I watched all that shit when I was in high school.
Me too. Did you watch the Angry Video Game Nerd?
Yep. Angry Video Game Nerd, not nostalgia chick, nostalgia critic. I can't remember.
Angry Video Game Nerd has kind of avoided having Fallout.
Yeah,
associated with him.
angry video. It turns out that if you're just an angry person on the outside, you have nothing to hide.
Yeah, and well, to be fair, he did catch a lot of flack for his statements regarding 2016 Ghostbusters, which, by the way, what he said, I completely agree with.
What did he say?
He said it was a bad movie, and it had nothing to do with the fact that it had women in it.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Agreed.
it was a bad movie. Yeah. So, yeah, he got like roasted on the internet. They were like, you man baby who can't accept that women are in your movie. And it's like people forming an opinion about him based off of what you just said, the character.
Right.
Like, you know, so yeah, AVGN, he's still there, still making content like 15 years later.
Yeah, man. That's insane.
Jesus. It is. I watched him when I was in high school, just like you did.
Yeah. And we're 30 now.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's wild to me because, like, you can watch his old stuff, and I'm like, I remember watching this when this was new.
Mm-hmm.
so
I was a big fan of the Cinema Snob because he always talked about the weird exploitation and horror movies that I liked.
Cinema Snob.
Yeah, he was a part of the channel. He was a part of Channel Awesome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was about to say Nostalgia Critic. Boy, bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Thank you. Goodbye. That's a real shame. But it's not, because apparently it was a piece of garbage the entire time. So Red Letter Media is also still out there doing good stuff. Those dudes are a big inspiration to me because that's just literally dudes making videos about movies. Obviously, I mean, they made all of their notoriety off of the Mr. Plinkett Star Wars reviews, which are still amazing a decade later.
Right.
So if you've never seen the Mr. Plinkett reviews, they are some subversive shit of the highest order. But the thing that you told me that I was surprised by, Jess, is you didn't play any new games in 2020.
Nope, I don't think so.
Did you play anything?
I played a little bit of The Man of Medan, but I got that last year. It was. I like it. I still am playing it. The thing is, just for me, like, I am very, very casual with my gaming. Like, I start a game, I like binge on it for a couple weeks or so, and then I won't play it for months, maybe a year, and then I'll come back to it.
Because that's the people that made Until Dawn, right?
Yes.
I think so. Because I remember liking Until Dawn. It was pretty fun. It wasn't much of a game as much as an interactive movie.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
And that's kind of what this is. I mean, it's more, there's some more game elements to it than I would say Until Dawn is, but it's very much like an interactive movie.
Yeah. So you played Until Dawn?
Yes.
It's kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was all right.
I mean, any of those slasher games are always they always leave something to be desired. Because it's just really not a story. Well, yeah, because all you want to do is, that's the only fun thing.
Yeah, I was going to say a game that I ended up revisiting recently that I've kind of been having a lot of fun with is Dead by Daylight, which is a game where you can either play as the victims or as the killer, and playing as the killer is the only fun part of the game. So they have Ghostface and Leatherface and the Demogorgon. They have Pyramid Head, all kinds of stuff. So if that's your like thing and you want to play as a monster from a movie, awesome. For me, I played a lot of stuff. I played the new Star Wars Fallen Order game, which was pretty awesome. But like my thing is really advocating for games as a service. Mm-hmm. So if you have an Xbox or a PlayStation and you're not part of like Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Plus. Now, is that what it's called? PlayStation Plus. Like that is such a good value because especially on Xbox, you get the brand new games day of. If you have a PC that can run them, you can play on PC as well. I mean, there's a lot of upsides. So I'm a huge advocate of that because I don't think I've bought any. No, I guess I bought one new game this year. I bought the game where you play as a shark, but that was it. Everything else that I've played brand new has been through Xbox Game Pass. So I've actually just played a lot of Call of Duty, which was kind of like my veg out thing to play was Call of Duty with my pals. And I've also played a lot of Tabletop Simulator. Probably played Tabletop Simulator more than anything else.
Right.
And for those of you that don't know what Tabletop Simulator is, it is effectively a simulator on your computer that allows you to play any board game that exists out there if it's been put into the game. And while that might not seem like much, being able to play board games with your friends on the computer is pretty great, given that none of us can get together and do it in person.
Right.
So I think I've probably put more hours than anything into that. So, but if you hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have mentioned it. But to close out this little games repose, fuck Cyberpunk 2077. It is a bad game. I purchased it off Amazon and I returned it because it barely works. And if you buy that game and you think it's good, please tell me why, because I couldn't figure it out. And from all the press and kind of accolades that the game got before coming out, I think it needs to explain itself too, because it is not good at all. And I would not get it if I were someone thinking about it, because you will be disappointed, massively disappointed.
I mean, I figured, because once I started hearing about the glitches, I was like, yeah, well.
Yeah, it's not only the glitches, it's also there's no content. A lot of the things that were promised never came to fruition.
Wow.
Effectively, they released a game that's not finished, and they released it because the people who wanted to play it started threatening the game developers because they delayed it. So that's fun. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're one of those people who threatened the game developers because you didn't get to play a game when you wanted to, your punishment is that the game sucks.
Right, yeah.
So
happens when you rush products.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the game won 200 awards. Those people are on drugs, and not the fun kind. They're on the promoting games that don't deserve to be promoted drug.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I don't feel sorry for anyone who has Cyberpunk and refuses to return it, because you can get a refund at this point, because everybody can. If you bought it digitally, you can get a refund. If you bought it from the store, you can get a refund. Return the game. Don't be a beta tester for a game for $60. That's insane. Right. So let's move on to music, Jess. So what music was Jess Byard listening to during 2020?
So also thank God for Spotify 2020, so that I could see what was my most listened to things. And I basically just highlighted 2 artists that popped up in my most listens. The first one is an artist.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
By the name of LP. They are, I guess it's just kind of indie pop, indie rock music, with some interesting kind of older style thrown into it. But I discovered I was actually introduced to them by someone, and I really like LP's voice. I'm not sure of the proper pronouns, so I'm just going to use LP and they. But a few of the songs that I highlighted were When We're High, Girls Go Wild, Other People, and Lost on You. Those songs popped up a lot in my Spotify wrap up, and they're killer songs. Definitely check out LP. I'm honestly surprised I had not come across this person before I did, but I am glad I did. And then the other one that I had highlighted is an English band by the name of White Lies, and they are kind of a post-punk. If you want to have a comparison as far as vocals go, they kind of have that warbly 80s alternative that would belong to like a Morrissey type, but without being an asshole.
I was about to say, but without being Morrissey, which is like the important part now.
Or, a Joy Division sound, that just kind of like crooning voice.
Sure.
I started listening to them a lot more this year, but I'd realized that I had actually heard them once before in a movie that came out and was actually on one of my best of lists that year. Was a movie called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which is an Iranian vampire western. and I really loved it. But there's a sequence in that movie, if you've seen it, there's a sort of bedroom scene where the two main characters are listening to music and just, hanging out. And the song that's playing in the background is called Death, and it's by White Lies. That's one of the ones that I highlighted. But the other two, honestly, I loved most of their music, but the other two that were high up on my most listened to were Tricky to Love and Is My Love Enough. I was also thinking while we did this.
So when I did my Spotify Wrapped, my top song of the year, and I know I listened to it a lot, but I'm surprised that it was the one that was the big one, was Phil Collins' Take Me Home.
Wow.
Of all the things that you picked for the song that you listened to the most, Chris, this was the one. And I was listening to it before the pandemic too. I really love Phil Collins. Phil Collins is definitely up there for me. But I didn't listen to a lot of Phil Collins other than that. So for the things that I listened to, and going off from using my Spotify is kind of just a basic outline. Mike Snow, I listened to a lot of Mike Snow, which is like electronic kind of. If you've heard the song Genghis Khan, that's kind of the song that I would say that the song most people know. But Mike Snow's really was on my playlist a lot. So was my friend Alex's band Blondo, and I know that this sounds like a cross promotion, and it kind of is. But at the same time, the music that he makes is really good. If you're into like late or kind of mid to late 2000s pop punk in the vein of like Blink-182 and Fall Out Boy, which I very much am, that is definitely right up your alley. He's on Spotify. Just search Blondo, Blondo. But I also listen to a lot of Orville Peck again.
Nice.
Orville Peck's amazing, especially the song that he did with Shania Twain, which is awesome.
I really hate that what was your most listened to genre?
Indie pop.
Mine was adult standards. And I hate that that's categorized as that way. And I honestly, it's because of all of the jazz, like the instrumental 60s and 70s film soundtracks that I listen to.
Sure.
And a lot of, I do listen to like a lot of Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and stuff like that. So it's like all the jazz and weird instrumental stuff, they just lumped into like adult standards. I'm like, way to make me sound like I'm some like 65-year-old woman listening to
I was about to say, like, I'm looking at my Spotify right now, and the last thing that it has for friend activity for you is Roy Orbison. So,
yep. Well, maybe.
I think the moniker is worse than the music because like adult standard just sounds so fucking boring.
Yeah, it does.
So Jess, I listened to almost 16,000 minutes of music, which is about 11 days of music. How much did you listen to in 2020?
Take a guess.
Is it more than 16,000?
Yes.
Is it more than 16,000 by a lot?
Yes.
Is it like 32,000 minutes?
78,606 minutes.
Oh my! Holy shit.
Yep.
What? 72,000?
78,606.
Oh, God.
Look, I've been working at home since the beginning of 2020, and when I wake up, I say, Alexa, turn on Spotify, and then it's just on all day.
See, that's the thing. I would be curious what my Audible is, because I've listened to books more this year than music. Like, I know that. That's funny. That's a lot. Jesus
54
Christ.
days.
Yeah. Well, good Lord. That is, that's a lot, but that's good. Again, I listen to a shitload of music. You listen to a shitload of, just like rapid fire people that like, other than the ones I've already mentioned, Phoebe Bridger, Lil Nas X, Young Gravy, Whiskey Shivers, Phoebe Bridger. Did I mention that? Because she's amazing. LCD Sound System.
Nice.
There were a lot of people. There's, again, like, the Wood Brothers, like there's a lot. Again, like I just do like that weekly, like my radio thing where it's like, we've picked things for you that you may like.
Right.
I will give Spotify credit. They tend to find a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah. I think that overall Spotify is a pretty solid music listening platform.
Maybe not paying the artist, but
no,
then again,
I said music listening.
Those always suck. Yeah. That'll like, not we should be clear here. Yeah, we should be clear here. I don't think either one of us agree with how little they get compensated.
No, not at all.
But it's a great platform, and it's effectively gone away with any sort of reason for me to buy music. So unless I like want that specific artist music,
vinyl, but
yeah, exactly. So,
but yeah,
exactly. I mean,
looking at my your top 20 or your top songs 2020, it's just some random artists. LP, obviously. Let's see here. We have Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion.
I wonder what song that was.
I actually have a couple of Megan Thee Stallion things on here, but yes, it is WAP because that song's great. Lana Del Rey pops up a lot, obviously. Miles Davis pops up a lot. Gunship, M83, FM84, MGMT, Bowie, always. But a lot of, I pretty much listen to like synthwave electronic music, jazz music, or like 80s alternative sounding kind of stuff. As far as like post-punk, I guess would be the best way to describe it. Tame Impala is always popping up here.
My playlist, like every year, a friend of mine and I have done like a collabo playlist on Spotify, and I had them saved as far back as 2015, and they are like a fever dream of the melange of music because it's all sorts of things. It's pop, hip hop, classical, spoken word, mumblecore. Like it's all like I'm one of those people that just like I'll listen to anything because I find so much of music to just be interesting. Like the people behind it are so interesting, and like what they're making is so kind of sometimes it's indicative of them, sometimes it's completely antithetical to who they are. But I'm with you. Like I won't even say no to genres. Like people who close off genres of music completely. Like come on,
right?
That's not.
Wow, I guess I do listen to a lot of. So I looked up what adult standards, like some artists, and I can see where like the ones that stick out to me as to why Spotify would pick that are I do listen to a lot of Patsy Cline, I do listen to a lot of Bobby Darin, and I do listen to a lot of Dean Martin. And I
no James Taylor.
He's fine.
I love James Taylor.
Brenda Lee, I listen to a lot of her. Barry Manilow, I'm a big fan of Copacabana.
Especially late at night.
Yep.
So I've been told. Listening to Copacabana late at night is living, according to Jess Byard. For me in music, like I won't say no to most things. I have a pretty big vinyl collection of all sorts of weird ass shit. I love listening to music. I honestly believe that like the art of listening to music is lost because now music is seen as just something you have on in the background. And like you said, you have it on all day. Like I wish I did that because like there's something to be said for like having that constant soundtrack and like actually listening to the music versus just like, right. Yeah.
Instead of it just being
put on the radio.
Well, the benefit of being able to work at home too now has been, I'm not that the place that I work has, music playing, but I have worked in places where it's just like, being able to like work at home and kind of just like curate my own stuff as I go, it's been very nice. I love listening to music.
Yeah, there you go. I'm with you. It's being able to kind of curate your own soundtrack to whatever you're doing. There's something to be said for that.
Right.
So let's move on to I think the category, the topic that I think we were all most excited to talk about because TV for me has been like I think I've watched more TV stuff than I even have movies.
I realized that I rewatched a lot of shit this year.
Stuff you'd straight up already seen before.
Yeah, and I mean, and not so much movies. It was more so like TV. And for me, that's partly because like it's just the way that I work is I'm constantly having to work on something. And if I'm not controlling the TV, my husband will pretty much just put on Always Sunny or Seinfeld or something, and that will just be on in the background. But I did watch some good new, some new TV this year.
So what were some things that stuck out for you, Jess?
Well, the biggest one that stuck out for me is the one that I've watched most recently, and that was Killing Eve, which is a BBC show starring Sandra Oh and I can't remember, Julie Comer, I believe is her name. Basically, Sandra Oh works for MI6 in the UK, and Julie Comer is a spy, an assassin, a female assassin. And it becomes this game of cat and mouse for them, but I loved it. It was fantastic. The look of the show, the visual style, the soundtrack is amazing. That's another one that I started, speaking of music. I followed those playlists on Spotify. It's incredibly well written. It's based on a book series, but the show was created by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, which she's also has the show Fleabag on Amazon, which.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
I enjoyed. This is a vastly different tone and feel from Fleabag, but we watched there's 3 seasons and we watched all of them probably within a week. It's just a really good show.
So not only good, it's compelling television too.
Yes. Imagine that.
Weird. One of the things that made my list, and I didn't know if it was going to make my list because I have such reservations about it. And I've been pretty adamant, at least with some of my friends, you being one of them, that people should watch it and kind of come to their own conclusion, is Westworld. And look, I know that this 3rd season of Westworld effectively nuked a lot of things that people loved about the show, namely the Wild West setting.
Right.
And this is not a fucking spoiler. You just had to see the ads to realize it's a completely different show.
Right.
And yes, it is a completely different show now, in so many ways. But given how poorly Game of Thrones did, because I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here and saying Game of Thrones is a show that I will never revisit.
I'm fine.
Yeah, and that's coming from 2 people who clearly were invested in the show at one point.
Right.
So much so that we were watching it at the same time. Yeah. Texting back and forth. And I remember that was the last positive memory I had about that show.
And then it died.
After that episode, it completely, that show shit the bed long before that episode. I just think a lot of us were holding out hope that it wouldn't shit the bed and then roll around in it for an entire season. Because I don't think that we can overstate enough how bad it's been in even a year since the show ended, how much worse it's gotten, because the people involved with making the show have their entire careers have now cratered.
Oh yeah.
And the follow-up shows were canceled for the most part, aside from one of them. It's a whole domino of destruction. You went from being the most most loved current popular television show to being the most hated overnight. Yeah. A show that somehow replaced Dexter as the show who had the worst ending.
I don't know. I still think
which
Dexter's
is insane. Yeah, but here's the thing. Dexter may get a chance to walk it back, or at least fix it. Look, I have faith because the people that are involved are the people that were involved in the first 4 seasons of the show.
Right.
That's
fair.
The only saving grace. Yeah, I'm Manny Cotto and Clyde Phillips. I don't know if Manny Cotto's involved, but I know Clyde Phillips is involved, and he was the showrunner for the first 4 seasons of the show. So those first 4 seasons are the reason people remember Dexter fondly. The last 4 seasons are not. Those are the reasons people really gave up on that show, or 3 seasons, I think. So, I watched a lot of Westworld. I rewatched it in preparation for the new season. It's one of those shows where, don't listen to what you've heard. Just watch it and come to your own conclusion. If you don't want to watch past the 2nd season, because it's getting too formulaic, the 3rd season is a complete change. So it's a weird show. It's a polarizing show. I get it, though.
I did watch the 1st season of it this year, and I really liked it. And I watched half of the second season, and I just hadn't finished it yet. But it is something I do plan on fishing. But yeah, I liked it. I liked what I saw. The first season is great.
Yeah. You like what you saw,
liked
huh?
what I saw.
How much did that have to do with Evan Rachel Wood?
She's pretty, but she's not my type.
Nah, she's a good actress.
Yes.
I'll give her that because she's great. She does more for that show than anyone in any episode of Game of Thrones ever did for that show. Yeah. The quality of Evan Rachel Wood as an actress, she really grounds that show and makes that show what it is. I mean, there's a reason she's in every promotional thing for that show.
Yeah, I mean, she was great in
she's
True
the
Blood, too,
heart.
when she was on that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I watched. I mean, I watched a lot of true crime stuff. I think we both did, I'm sure.
Yeah, just watched the Yorkshire Ripper thing last night.
Oh, the thing on Netflix,
Yeah.
right?
Which is pretty good, and the cops are, incompetent. Yikes.
Incompetent cops, weird. What's that like? Some like true crime things that I would point out that came out, that didn't come out this year, but stuff that I definitely watched this year. The Murder of Lacey Peterson is a great true crime thing that like completely changed what I thought about the case. No One Saw a Thing is an IFC show about Skidmore, Missouri, where that guy got murdered in his car.
I was
40 people
just going to watch that one the other day. I haven't watched it yet.
Really good. It's real good. It's not IFC. It's actually Sundance TV, which is like even more obscure of a streaming.
Right. Yeah. Isn't it on Netflix though?
I did want to comment on something that I wasn't a huge fan of, and I feel like I need to comment on it because I was so excited. Cursed Films.
Yeah.
Really disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's low hanging fruit because the first season is all stuff you know.
It's like very baity.
It is,
especially doing it like
it kind of just feels like an internet article come to life.
And look, like the best episode of that first season of the show is the episode on the Twilight Zone.
Well, yeah, because that story is just
Awful.
Bananas. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of the things that like I was really excited for it, and so I was really disappointed when it was just okay. Like you said, it was like watching a BuzzFeed article.
Yeah, yeah.
Or like an oral history because they've been doing those now. But one of the things that we watched that is stuck with me more than a lot of things has, and this isn't something that came out this year, but we watched it this year, was Hellier.
Oh yeah, we did watch that this
you
year.
forgot about that. The Kentucky Goblins.
Yeah.
Which we didn't even watch it for this podcast. We watched it for Scary Stories We Tell. But it was great, right?
It was. I mean, aside from, our general issues that we have with it, which if you want to hear what those are, go check those episodes out on Scary Stories We Tell podcast. But it was a very well-made docuseries about a weird supernatural topic, and I think I said it in the podcast, you don't generally get to see that kind of quality and production quality going into something like that on that subject.
No. Lots of synchronicities. As they would say.
Yes. I mean, so another show, Lovecraft Country, I thought was pretty fantastic, if not a little bit muddied here and there in certain episodes, but overall, I really liked them being able to do a subversive take on H.P. Lovecraft, because we all know that H.P. Lovecraft, while a very imaginative man, was a very narrow-minded man when it came to race and people different from him. But they they take that and subvert it a bit in this show, just with the main characters and a few of the storylines that they take on. And it's really fucking crazy. There's one episode that is mostly just set in, I want to say it's Japan, but I could be wrong. But the entire episode is just focused on this woman who has this horrible curse that was put on her by her mother.
I never watched it. I heard varying degrees of quality. So it just it was one of those things that was like the Watchmen show. I was like, I'll get around to it eventually, and that the eventually hasn't happened.
Right. And then one that just popped up that I forgot about that even came out, but it was one season. It came out on Netflix, and it was the Dracula reimagining.
You were looking at the same thing I was. I was about to say the actual exact same thing. It was good enough for me and you to mention it, but that third episode is a mess. And it is such a mess that it is almost so bad that it ruins everything else that the show has done well.
Yeah, but those first 2 episodes are really awesome.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes are real good, and then the third episode is it is a mess of catastrophic level. Like, you had one job to tell the story of Dracula, and you went in such a way that, like, the idea was good, but the execution was terrible.
Yeah. But you know what I realized? This has been like the first year without an American Horror Story in a long time.
Good. I know. We're of different minds on American Horror Story. I can't get into it for how bad it is. But I know you like it.
I do. So yes, it is my kind of trash.
But yeah, like that's the thing that in my mind is important. Though it is trash. Like the problem I have with the show is it tries to take itself more seriously than trash normally does.
See, I would disagree. I would agree with that maybe on the first season, but I think they lean into their campiness going on later in the seasons.
Well, maybe I should watch later seasons. I watched, I think, the first 2 or 3 seasons.
So, Murder House, Asylum, and Coven?
Coven? Yeah.
Yeah, those are probably the most serious of them, especially Asylum.
Yeah. Yes. Asylum is like deathly serious.
Well, Asylum is just like, here, let's do as many horrible things as we can to Sarah Paulson.
Exactly. Speaking of Netflix, because we've kind of been oscillating about all kinds of things, Unsolved Mysteries came back, and it didn't justify coming back.
No, I mean, it didn't justify being called Unsolved Mysteries. I don't think it is a bad show. I think that, like, the stories and stuff that it's a true crime show, but it's no different from any other ID hour-long, investigating one crime thing. They kind of avoid the supernatural aspects and paranormal aspects of the original Unsolved Mysteries, which was a bummer. And
there's no host.
And yeah, there's no host, and they also kind of got rid of the theme song a little bit, except for like the very like little end of it. But otherwise, it's not a bad show. And I mean, the cases are worth talking about. But it was just kind of, it felt like a grab, like let's slap this title on here to guarantee some views.
The thing that bugs me is they have an ability to possibly solve these cases too, right? Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, you're putting this out on Netflix.
Yeah.
You need to be more judicious in what you choose, because what you choose, you could solve.
It could be.
I mean, you're giving it... It could, because, I mean, again, like, you're giving this a platform that it maybe didn't have, especially some of these smaller cases.
Right, yeah.
So, like, what's to say you couldn't solve it from this? But, like, yeah, you essentially don't want to show anything other than true crime. Like, man, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the trend.
It's the nature of the beast, as they would say.
Right.
If true crime is in, they're going to do true crime.
And I mean, hey, we are 2 people who have a podcast that does talk about true crime from time to time.
Sure, but we don't only talk about true crime.
No, we don't.
But yeah, it's the Unsolved Mysteries was okay, but I was disappointed because it was less of what I remember from either iteration of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it just it's really polished.
Yes.
And the original one is not. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with time period and technology. But it does kind of take a little bit away when you don't have those kind of grimy reenactments and the weird interviews with the families that were so out of touch with everything. And there's no episode about Anastasia.
Netflix for me this year, I was a little disappointed with a lot of the stuff that Netflix put out. I didn't see a lot that like really motivated me.
I didn't really hear much about anything that came out.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
That was worth like that everybody, aside from Tiger King.
I was about to say, other than the one thing that like everyone forgot about already.
Right.
So Tiger King was fun for what it was, but I think we're done with that.
Yeah, it's a tabloid documentary.
Yeah, even though, now we're not done with Tiger King because they're making a Tiger King TV show, and they're making 2 Tiger King TV shows, actually. So, great. Cool, just what we all need.
Highlight this man who has some real problems.
and some other people surrounding him who also have real problems. Another thing I watched this year, it was a couple years since it had come out, but the 5th season of the Eric Andre show came out this year, and it is exactly what you would expect if you've seen the show, so you should go watch it if you haven't. It's a man terrorizing other people who don't realize why they're being terrorized. Especially the people who are on the show that are like working actors and other people, like those poor people. Their agents, effectively what I've read is their agents don't realize what the show is and just say, okay, sure, why not? And just expect it to be a talk show.
But I mean, people know who Eric Andre is at this point.
You know who he is. I know who he is. But I guarantee you there are people in the industry who have no idea. And also don't do their due diligence, because all you have to do is Google his name.
Right, yeah.
And you'll see clips of, Chris Jericho and T.I. and Dennis Rodman all being harassed by Eric Andre. So what else for you for TV? What else jumped out?
Honestly, I think that might be it. I mean... So we were watching the 2nd season of Pen 15 on Hulu, which if you don't know what that is, it's just it's a coming of age drama set in the early 2000s, and it's these 2 like women who are playing like 13, 14, 15-year-old girls. And it's a very, very, very good show. It's incredibly realistic, and I cannot watch it for that reason. I watched the 1st season, and I got about halfway through the 2nd season, and just the realness of the awkward preteens and the feeling super lonely and left out and weird, and it was a little too weird or too real for former wallflower me in high school, and I was just like, I don't need to relive those feelings. I'm good. That is not at all saying that the show is bad. That's actually, I think, is a huge credit to the show that it has such that these people embody these characters so well and grab this time and tone so well that it makes me cringe and I can't watch it.
It doesn't sound like something I'm going to be watching, because cringe humor, I like cringe humor, but
yeah, I mean it's not necessarily a cringe humor. It is just that they are awkward girls, so therefore they do cringy things.
Sure. Yeah, for Hulu, I don't think I watched any of their original series.
I didn't either. The only original thing I watched on Hulu this year was Happiest Season.
Yeah, Hulu for me is just the one platform that I don't really watch that often, and when I do, it's one thing, or they have access. They have access to investigation discovery, right. So that's what a lot of it is. We primarily use Hulu for ID shows and sitcom reruns, like Always Sunny and Seinfeld, because all of those are on there. I did start watching, which I liked the other iteration, which was formerly the 80s, the Deadliest Decade, but they did a new one, which is the 90s, the Deadliest Decade. It's an investigation discovery show, and it just highlights weird-ass crimes from the 90s. ID, I used to really deride ID, and I still, because, I still do, for the reason of it's kind of shitty what they're doing, but I just based off of a profiting off of other people's misery.
True.
That there's such a yearning for listening to other people talking about horrible things that have happened to them. So right.
I do love Deadly Women.
Sure, I'm with you.
I also really like Crime to Remember, which are ones that a Crime to Remember focused on crimes from before the 80s, basically, before the 70s, basically. And what I liked about that was I liked the reenactments that they did for that. They had a nice cinematic quality to them. I would check that one out. I think it was on 2013 to 2018.
It's funny because Investigation Discovery still does a lot of good stuff, but Jesus Christ, everybody else is getting in on it.
Well, I mean, and some of the titles for their shows are just
Which one? ID? Oh. ID is like their show titles are hilarious. Murder on the internet. Taken at birth. My favorite is Nightmare Next Door.
The night that didn't end.
A man with a van. Murder comes home.
It's almost like they're trying to like make like they're like we're creating slasher movie titles for these shows, which is not great. Like Murder Comes to Town. Okay.
But Investigation Discovery is great. I mean, you know, Who the Bleep Did I Marry? What a terrible name for it.
The ones, my favorite ID shows are Deadly Women, Disappeared, and A Crime to Remember. Vanishing stuff like just fascinates me. It people who vanish off the face of the earth just kind of like boggles my mind sometimes. But
I'm with you on that. I don't know how that could happen, but yet it does. It continues to happen. So much so that like we could do an episode of our other podcast on every disappeared person and we still would have plenty of episodes.
We could do an
left.
entire podcast on disappeared people.
Yeah, we could because they're out there. I've seen them show up on my Instagram feed of the other true crime podcasts, and one of them is just about disappeared people.
Yep. But yeah, we also watch a lot of true crime. I think that, and also we watch a lot of YouTube. So I think that kind of took over some of the, you know, time that would have been spent watching a TV show or a movie.
Yeah. And I haven't watched it yet, but things I want to mention that are insane to me that they finally came out. Animaniacs.
Yeah.
That came back. I haven't watched it yet.
You know what? I like it. I think
Is it good?
I think that they did okay with it. Yeah. I think that it's still funny. And I think that the updated, you know, the things that they updated on it are work and don't feel too ham-handed or anything.
The thing I wanted to mention for movies, and I kind of forgot to mention it, but it goes in this similar thing of like, can't believe it finally came out. Bill and Ted 3.
Yeah.
Like that happened in 2020. Of all the things in 2020 to happen, that is one of the more surreal things. Because like the fact that actually happened is still insane to me.
Right. And I actually like that too. I thought it was pretty cute.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for what it is, which is two actors, one of which who hasn't acted in like a decade, taking up characters that they played over 20 years ago.
Right.
So it's it's definitely a different film than I was expecting, but it was a welcome addition to a year where it was one of the biggest films to come out because it was one of the only films to come out. So, but I didn't watch a lot of TV, like the way that like I watched an entire series. I just didn't watch any series from start to finish. I don't think, and if I did, it was Westworld or like the things that I talk about on podcasts don't count.
Yeah, Killing Eve was definitely one of those just like, hey, let's just start watching this show. And then we're like, damn, this show's really good. Let's keep watching this show.
And I know we said we weren't going to talk about things we didn't like, and I've already mentioned cursed films, but the other thing I want to mention is a thing I liked and a thing I didn't like. I wasn't a huge fan of The Last Dance because I don't feel like it had anything useful to say, other than Michael Jordan is an egotistical athlete, which we already all knew that.
Right.
It's unfortunate that got so much attention when something like Dark Side of the Ring, which, yes, I know it got a lot of views, that was a much better show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it, you watched it and you don't give a shit
true,
about
yeah.
wrestling.
I don't care. Like, I've never watched really any wrestling. I know who some basic characters are, but yeah, Dark Side of the Ring. I mean, true crime wrestler is great.
Yeah, Dark Side of the Ring.
Wrestling
if you've never
people
seen it,
is crazy.
Yeah. Dark Side of the Ring is a Vice series about the kind of seedy underbelly. Not necessarily true crime per se. A lot of it is true crime, but there's like the seedy underbelly and like the stories behind events in wrestling. And it's the best thing. It's the best wrestling thing I've ever seen, because not only does it realize how fucking nuts wrestling is, but it shines a light on the things in wrestling that like fans have known about, but like the death of Owen Hart or Chris Benoit, like we've heard about those things forever and ever, but the way that they told yeah, exactly. The way that they told the stories was amazing, even for people who knew those stories, but it was more important for people who had never heard them before, right? Because it's like those stories, I can't do that story justice in how insane it is. And to be fair, I'm not even sure Dark Side of the Ring did those stories justice, because they're too insane. Right. They're too insane for words.
But speaking of wrestling, I think we would be remiss to not mention WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah. The had to adapt to quarantine, to COVID WrestleMania.
And I actually got Jess to watch some wrestling.
And I thought it was
weird.
awesome.
Yeah. So what we're talking about specifically is night 2 of WrestleMania 36, and I'm sure you can find this online. It was the match between Bray Wyatt, otherwise known as The Fiend, and John Cena, otherwise known as the face that runs the place. And it was this is not something new to wrestling. This is something that's been done in other promotions for a while now. But it was a pre-taped match. Wasn't much of a match, but it was more of a pre-taped experience between Bray Wyatt and John Cena. I don't want to say more than that.
Right.
If you have no idea about wrestling, just know that Bray Wyatt's the bad guy, John Cena's the good guy, at least on paper, at least on the face of it. But if you have a moment, 15 minutes I think is how long it is, should track it down, watch it, because I won't even say anymore because Jess watched it too, and Jess clearly liked it. So
yeah, I mean, it's some of the best on your feet, like quick, because, COVID hit fast, and I mean,
it's less than a month.
Yeah, for things like that, people, they had to think on their feet and be like, shit, what are we going to do? We don't have any a wrestling match without an audience of hyping it up is strange.
Well, and the thing is, like, WrestleMania, there were 2 pre-taped matches. Everything else was done in their performance center in Orlando with no audience.
Yes.
So the things that people remember the show for are the 2 pre-taped matches. The match between AJ Styles and The Undertaker, and the match between Bray Wyatt and John Cena.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what this WrestleMania is going to be remembered for.
Like,
and
if you want wrestling mixed with Pee-wee's Playhouse, watch that.
It's also very David Lynch.
It is, yeah.
It's very, like, weird, surrealist
dream
kind of
quality.
Like, also, like, if you that's the other thing. Like, there's also, like, a lot of, like, meta wrestling jokes in there too.
Right.
Which, like, for those of us that, like, watch wrestling regularly, get them. But, like, even someone who doesn't watch wrestling regularly, like yourself, like, that's still enjoyable. And that, for me, is kind of all that matters. So as long as it's enjoyable for everyone and not just, like, the wrestling hardcores,
right?
The big time wrestling marks. So, which is funny that you watch wrestling this year. I completely forgot about that.
Yep, 2020, baby.
Yeah, 2020 has been a wild year. Yeah, to close this out, all jokes aside, and we kind of already had a serious conversation about 2020 on our other podcast, but I do want to say it has been a wild year.
Yep.
And I am so thankful that I still have friends.
Yeah.
And I'm still thankful that I have friends that have been taking this seriously, that I can still talk to and not feel like I'm, pushing a ball uphill about COVID. And I'm thankful to have, best friends like yourself who have put up with my bullshit and, who've been collaborative. And I think we've made a lot of progress this year in cooking up some weird, interesting stuff for people to listen to.
I mean, we launched and did an entire season of a new podcast and recorded an entire season of the one season show in like a month.
Yeah. That first month of the pandemic was pretty wild.
Yeah, it really was. You're like, what do? We do everything.
Yeah. Just do anything to take your mind off the fact that you can't sleep at night without marijuana.
Right.
Oh, wait. But like, again, the thing about this year for me has been trying to figure out a way, and I'm sure so many of us in the same boat, trying to figure out a way to balance my mental health with just reality.
Yep.
And it's been an uphill battle.
Well, I mean, and learning how to balance. Because I think that like a lot of, most of us, at some point, a lot of people were at home for a few weeks or more. Some people have been at home for months. Some people have lost their jobs and have definitely been home for months. But I think that like we all just had to like sit and be with ourselves. And not, being at home and connected to the internet and the TV, it's really easy to just read and consume all of the negative news and all of the bullshit that goes on. And that makes it, I think, hard to find that balance because you're always connected to something, be it phone, whatever. But I think that it, at least for me, like I quit Facebook this year because I was like, you know what, that's it. I'm done. All this thing does is make me miserable. And, with COVID, it made it even worse just to see people that I knew, not taking things seriously or whatever. The elections obviously don't help. And becoming a little bit more disconnected and being more in my space has been a big thing for me in 2020. Being able to be in my own home office, being able to work at home. I work out more now. I get more time with my cats. I'm more productive on my own endeavors as well as my day job.
So we've never been busier.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm just as busy this year as I would be on any normal year. And that's not because, I have gone on some shoots for my actual job this year, but not nearly as many as we have in the past. I mean, in the past, I've been traveling all over the place. But that's not to say that I don't have things to do. I mean, writing and podcast making is pretty ideal for 2020 living.
Yeah, like you said, I was working from home before the pandemic. So in regards to lifestyle changes, it hasn't been as much as maybe, someone like yourself or so many other people, obviously. I know, and I am thankful every day that I have not been in a position that so many others have. And it's unfortunate that there isn't more that we could do. And there's definitely more that the government could have done and didn't. And I don't want to get into politics on this podcast, but that's just a fact, in my opinion, and that's a fucking unfortunate one. And I'm so thankful, and I know that I should be thankful for all the things that I have, that you have, that we have here at our house, and all that. But yeah, the balance has been tough. And, so many people that I know have gotten stir crazy and have gotten sick of their significant other and have, wanted nothing but to run away from their house and never come back.
Right.
It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And I think a lot of people realize that this year. It's sometimes you can't run away from things. You just have to face them.
Sometimes you're just going to be here and you got to be with them.
Yeah. And, if you and your significant other out of this, 2020 pandemic decided to get divorced or move on from one another, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a transformative thing. Maybe not every negative is actually a negative. Maybe it's a positive. And I have seen a lot of things myself this year that things that I've changed the way I do things. Like you said, I get to spend more time with my wife. I get to spend more time around my animals. My wife's been working from home since March. I'm not complaining. I'm already a bit of a homebody anyways.
We've been lucky that the both of us have kept our jobs. I've had a few hiccups pay-wise just throughout the year, but honestly, that's nothing compared to people who have lost their jobs and who continue to not have jobs and who didn't, get the unemployment they were supposed to get and all of that. And again, we're not getting into politics,
and might be facing eviction now.
Right. But, we wanted to do this podcast talking about the things that we did that did bring us joy, because this year was shit. And we all know that. And there's going to be a million podcasts and summaries and whatever of this year and how terrible it was. But I do think that whether you feel it now or whether it's something that's going to be something you realize later on, I think that at least 2020 has been a transformative year for many people. And I think that it's made people kind of realize what they want in life and what's important to them in life. And that maybe, things getting changed to the degree of these jobs that we previously supposedly couldn't do at home, but all of a sudden now we can do at home. Things like that. I think people have sort of come to a point where it's if I have to sit around in my apartment or my house and be, in this country, in this world, in this specific time, then I'm at least going to do the things that I want to do. And I'm going to enjoy my life. So hopefully, to close this out, hopefully listeners, you did get some joy out of this year. You discovered some new stuff. Maybe you made some new stuff. Maybe you found some new hobbies. Maybe you ditched some old hobbies. Maybe you also ditched some people that were, toxic for you. Anything that you did
right there with that last one.
Yeah. And that's a big thing that I think a lot of people had to deal with this year. I think that everybody out of this year has been changed, hopefully for the good, maybe in some respects for the bad. But I think for the most part, everyone's going to come out and be like, you know what, 2020 sucked, but I learned some things.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. I think that you're right, and I think that that's the biggest thing for me. I mean, I know, at least early on in the pandemic, I was a lot in my head, and I was in my head a lot, and That's just what happens when it's 1 a.m, your significant other is asleep, and you're lying in bed on Reddit, and all you can look at is r/COVID or r/coronavirus. And that's not healthy. And I had to uninstall Reddit from my phone, and I stopped going to CNN.com because I know, as you did, that they were making money off of my misery as well by getting me to go to their news article and reading about how many more hundreds of thousands of Americans are dead. And it's been a year. It's been a bad year in a lot of ways. But at the same time, like you said, it's been an important year, and it's a year that if you forget that this year existed,
then you kind of miss some points. But I don't think that. I like to believe that I think that I give most people the benefit of the doubt and think that when they look back on 2020, they're going to see some things that changed for them. Whether it was immediate changes or whether it was small things that would eventually become long-term changes.
And I hate to break it to anyone who hasn't confronted themselves about 2020. It's coming. You're going to.
Yep.
Whether you do now or later, it's going to hit you. I mean, it's either going to hit you like a frying pan to the face, or it's going to hit you like a frying pan to the back of your head.
Yep.
Because either you're paying attention and you know it's coming, or it's going to hit you and you're not going to realize it. Because you're seeing it with certain people. Certain people who have been obstinate to this are coming around. And that's important. And that's, like you said, that's all we can really learn from this. So, and hey, watch a lot of content.
Consume a lot of media, and that's not to say consume, garbage. Do seek out. I mean, consume garbage now and then. We all do it, but do try and seek out things that are, I don't know, fill out different perspectives and just make you think a little bit, because I think that's things like that tend to inspire people, whether they're cognizant of it or not.
Yeah, maybe instead of rewatching The Office, sit down and read a book or watch something on YouTube about a hobby. That's what's important as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and if anybody's out there and feels the need to tell us things that they brought them joy in 2020, hit us up. I'm always looking for new music recommendations, TV, movies, books, anything.
Me too. Just don't suggest to me cursed films, because I already watched it. Oh, boy. So, Jess, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at writer Jess Byard. Everything I do pretty much goes there. I have a website now. All of my posts go through Twitter. If you want to hear Chris and I chit-chatting about other things, we've mentioned them already, but I'll mention them again. We have a podcast called Scary Stories We Tell, which is a podcast where we do interviews, we do episodes on things that about true crime, paranormal, cryptids, anything weird or sort of fringe culture-y related, we will talk about it. If you want to hear us talking about TV, you can hear us talk about TV that lasted one season on the One Season Show. And you're listening to the Kulturecast already, so I'm here occasionally.
And as for me, you can find me on Twitter at Christmas Claus, Kulturecast.com, patreon.com/Kulturecast, and Kulturecast on Twitter. That's where you can find me. That's where you can find the podcast. And man, 2020's been a year. I'm going to go back and listen to our 2019 episode and just think these two people have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah.
Listen to it and tell us what we thought we were going to do this year.
Send a message back to our former selves and say, oh, by the way, Alex Trebek, he's going to be dead by the end of 2020.
Yep.
Boy, what a fucking...
Chadwick Boseman.
Oh, fuck, yeah, Jesus Christ. Chadwick, God damn it. Let's end this podcast before we depress ourselves. Thank you for listening. Join us in 2021. Enjoy the new year. Hopefully it's better than 2020. That's a low bar.